I'm here today with Judge Tim Rudduck, who's the judge for Clinton County Court of Common Pleas, and also the founder or establisher of the U-Turn Recovery Drug Docket. And here today to talk to him about the progress of the drug court 3 years later, after having just had a record-setting folks graduate last week. So, how do you feel about the progress of the court?
Well, if you would have told me when we started the U-Turn Recovery Drug Court Docket at our first hearing in January of 2015, that we would have 9 graduates now total, 3 years later, I would have been exhilarated, and I am exhilarated. The U-Turn Docket is a therapeutic treatment program within the confines of the Clinton County Common Pleas Court, and individuals who voluntarily request admission into the program have to be in the program at least a minimum of 18 months before they would be deemed successful. During that period of time, they are required to call in every day that they're in the program for potentially being called in for drug tests. And so this is a very, very stringent program to get people off drugs. And I think the fact that we had a blessed day on this Friday night, November 17th, at the Wilmington Church of Christ, where we had 7 folks who have graduated from that program, to add on to the 2 graduates that we've had earlier, is a testimony to the success of the program.
So how do you think we as a community are doing in the battle against the opiate epidemic?
Well, the success has to be attributed not only to the treatment team and the supervision officers and the individual participants, but also to the community. We knew from the get-go that this program only would succeed if the community backed it. And that's why in 2014, we had a community forum in the courthouse, not knowing how many people would show up to determine whether or not they wanted to help. So we put a little blurb in the Wilmington News Journal that we were going to be discussing the opiate crisis, the opioid crisis in Clinton County, and not knowing how many people would show up. And we found out that we had standing room only crowd. We had over 2 hours of testimony and people who were willing to contribute and work on the program. So I knew right then we were going to be successful. Since that time, we've had the faith-based community step up. We've got 3 recovery houses now that are in town. We've got 2 new service providers in town that we didn't have before. So it's been a wonderful response from the community. Senator Portman actually gave a testimony for us at the graduation ceremony by video. I know he wanted to be here in person, but some things are going on in Washington, D.C., if you didn't know, and he couldn't be here, but he did the next best thing and gave us a video, which we showed at the beginning of the graduation. And in it, he said this problem is not going to be solved in Washington, D.C. It's not going to be solved in Columbus, Ohio. It's going to be solved locally. And that's been my mantra since we began, and the community has responded tremendously.
So what can others do to help? Are there other things you need?
Well, I just explained one of the big needs that we have are for employers to get engaged in this and take a look at the people that are in our drug court. A lot of times employees are out there using drugs, not being drug tested and coming to work. Our folks, if you employ them, are going to be drug tested. Now, it takes some understanding by the employer because they may be called in for a drug test, but I would hope that they would find that a positive thing. Our folks in the drug court are motivated, they're monitored, and they are hard workers. The ones that have obtained employment are doing wonderfully, and that is such a vital component of recovery because the stigma that has previously been attached to drug use and felony records has prevented a lot of these folks from getting work when they otherwise would be eligible.
Yeah, thanks a lot.